What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves, physically, emotionally, and spiritually?
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago, we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique.
Help other people to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores Cannon has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT. Now you can learn her method by going directly to themoreshow.com/QHHT. And don't forget to mention the discount coupon MORETALKS. Have you ever wondered, can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die? And can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They Call Us Channelers will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability?
Thanks for having me be back on. It's been a while. And for those people that are not familiar with me, I'll just give you a brief introduction. My name is Saryon Michael White. I have been a channel for 17 years. It's actually been a passion for a lot longer than that. But I had a very significant awakening where Ascended Masters came to me and asked me to start channeling for people. And they just started coming through me one after another and training me into their energies. And I've been doing that for 17 years. And this year marks a significant shift because I've started to transition away from doing the private sessions. And they're going to have me focused on developing other kinds of educational projects, media projects, training other people how to do this for themselves, especially people that are beginning to tap into their own gifts. They want to be of service. They want to grow and expand and develop their intuitive potential and to work with spiritual guides. My passion has always been about helping anyone that wants to learn develop a conscious, lifelong relationship with their spiritual guides. So that's always been my aim. But I want to also take it a step further and start training people that want to learn how to do readings for others, and really give some of the gift of my experience back to other people that want that kind of training.
Well, thank you so much. And what we'll do as well, Saryon, we'll just link all the previous interviews in the description below as well, if people want to see those, which I would recommend as well, because they go a little bit more into your, story as well. That's very interesting about wanting to teach people as well. That would be good. That would be a great thing to do, because there's so many people that watch these shows and yet they think, well, can I really do this myself? Do I have this ability? And there's something sort of calling them at a deeper level as well. And with someone like yourself who's been doing this for so long, that would be very helpful. So just remind us of your website as well, where people can get a bit more information about yourself in regards to that.
Well, it's saryon.com. So just my name, Saryon. And I was kind of having a laugh about this. I didn't mention this to you, but I started developing another media project. And the domain name came to me in a meditation, and it's channelingnow.com. Well, that's pretty close to, I mean, yours is channeling.com. And it's funny, the very first time I got on a podcast that had a pretty big audience, and I was going to promote, I was so excited. And the words that came out of my mouth when I was promoting was channeling.com. So I was sending people to your website, and I didn't even catch it until after I got on the interview. I was like, oh, darn, that was like my big launch.
That's funny.
So anyways, maybe you got some traffic, but channelingnow.com is a media project where I bring together other spiritual teachers and channels to share very short video teachings, just 2-3 minutes, little tips, little bits of advice to help people on this journey. And I also have a free channeling course there. There's 13 lessons along with other audio, video content to help people get started learning how to channel their guides. And there's going to be other phases. So this is going to be like an ongoing media project that I'm really excited about.
That is exciting. Well, we'll link both up on the screen as well for this interview. So you're coming back on because I know you've gone through a lot as well. There is so much happening in the world. How could you not have, been feeling it? Do you know what I mean? What have your guys been sharing with you about what is happening in the world in general right now? I should be asking, because we're going through a massive awakening, aren't we? In ways that we could never have imagined.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to pause for a second to just acknowledge where we're at as of this taping, because this week they are holding congressional hearings here in the United States about the subject of UFOs. And this is unprecedented. It's never happened like this before, where this subject is being destigmatized in a way that has huge implications. Now, there are, I'm sure, many different agendas involved in this. There's people that are incredibly courageous that are, fighting for truth. There are ways in which forces of corruption are trying to frame this, spin it, control it, use the disclosure in a way that serves their agendas. There's a lot to watch out for. So I'm going to be out there, on YouTube, on various platforms, commenting on this and trying to provide some additional discernment about it. So I just want to acknowledge that that's going on, and that's something I want people to pay attention to, and hopefully check in, see what I'm saying, because I'm going to be looking at this with eyes of discernment that come from the guides as well. But in terms of like additional updates, what's going on, there's some really exciting things that I've noticed energetically from the guides. I just did a channeled update from the Arcturians. Now, a few times a year, maybe like 3-4 times a year, I will do a public channeling. Most of my channelings are just for my private subscriber group that I do monthly. But a few times a year, I'll come out and I'll do a public channeling. Anyone can attend and sign up for the replay. And I usually will tune in and ask, like, hey, who wants to come talk? And I don't always know, but sometimes I'm given a theme. And this time the Arcturians wanted to come in and give a teaching about how to connect with them and work with their energies. Well, that was very exciting. And we just taped that. It's on my website. You can go register for the replay. And the Arcturians have been talking about some of the seeds that they are planting in our consciousness, or acknowledging that we're approaching certain potentials that parallel elements of the awakening that they went through. And one of the things they're talking about is a state of biological unity, not just being connected to a field of oneness, being connected to light, but how light can potentially begin to bring our nervous systems into sympathetic resonance with each other. Not something that I'm expecting to happen in a very large scale global way anytime soon, but people that are striving for the leading edge, that really want to go deeper and deeper into their attunement to light, to connection, to connectedness with the earth. This is one of the things that's starting to open up. Now, for some people, that might be difficult to achieve in relationship to other human beings. I am seeing that there's a lot of new synergy type energy showing up, especially at the small retreats that I do, where the Ascended Masters will come in and they will deliberately increase the presence of reflectivity and light between our chakras to help us go deeper into that state of sympathetic resonance, where it's like we begin to evolve as one, as a group dynamic. That's something that is accessible now, and it can be called forth, and we can attune to it. But there's some other elements that are feeding into this new synergy that are also really exciting. One of which is coming out of Egypt. So I've seen how some of the Ascended Masters, the immortal masters of Egypt, some of which actually came out of Atlantis and have been with us for a very long time, they are starting to extend consciousness and healing energy and support from what I perceive to be some type of a sanctuary that exists at a higher vibration inside the earth, beneath the land of Egypt. They've started to extend what they describe as a healing platform that connects us with the consciousness of all the healings and the initiations that were taken by the high-level initiates in the ancient mystery schools of Egypt. And it is having profound effects on those of us that are tapping into this. One of the things they showed us is that they can help us to resolve all forms of self-conflict. Now think about how much you deal with self-conflict in your own life, things that trigger you to be in conflict with yourself. I mean, how cool would it be to get some support resolving some of that so that you're not holding yourself back or holding on to internalized criticisms that you've dealt with your whole life or that come all the way back from childhood. Well, the Ascended Masters coming out of Egypt, especially Thoth, is the one that we've been hearing from a lot. He brought in this energy that connected us with the consciousness of all the initiates that had resolved their inner conflict during their process of awakening. And so it's like we were able to gain the benefit of the work that had been done. And of course, we still have to do the work too. We still have to go through the evolution ourselves. But it's like we're not starting from scratch. We are inheriting a legacy of awakening and awakenings that happened in the mystery schools of the past. And it's now starting to spill over into the present.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Okay, I'm going to get you to channel soon, right? Pretty soon, actually. And there'll just be a process for you to do that. Now, I'm not too sure who's going to come through. I don't think even you're too sure what's going to happen. This will be a little bit different to when you channeled last time, because you're going to go into a deeper state of meditation to try to connect with a group. And what are the potential groups? Because we've got Archangel Michael, we've got the natural spirits, and we've got I think you've just mentioned the Arcturians, the Egyptian guides. Are the Arcturians separate to the Egyptian guides, or is that sort of the same thing? Yeah.
It's a full range. Anything can happen. I usually don't know beforehand. In fact, I've been trying to figure out, as I sometimes do, and I don't feel like they are providing that information exactly. But I feel an Ascended Master presence is most likely right now. But yeah, it could be anyone, anything, and we'll see where it goes. I did want to share one other tidbit that I think is really profound. I have talked about Archangel Michael in the past as being the archangel of extraterrestrial discernment, or discernment regarding extraterrestrial contact. I tell people, there are a lot of different types of beings. They all have different agendas. Sometimes we have to be the detectives and evolve our discernment to understand what's happening and what humanity is coming in contact with, so that we can understand our choices and be in an empowered place around all of it. Archangel Michael, for me, has been the archangel that shows up whenever, I've actually had contact experiences where there were unusual things happening, or there was an issue of needing to discern what the agendas of the beings were. And Archangel Michael is the one that showed up and gave a teaching of discernment. In some case, teaching me and the beings that were contacting me at the same time and facilitating an evolution in both of us. So there's some extraordinary things that have happened there. And now, based upon new information that's come in, I would say Archangel Michael is the archangel of AI discernment as well. So there is a huge need for discernment about AI that has arisen, especially this year is kind of when that has opened up to a new degree. Yeah, and Archangel Michael is the angelic presence that is showing up to provide discernment about our evolving relationship to these new tools.
That's so interesting. And we're going to get into that in the channeling, because I was thinking, you know what, this will be interesting to ask in the channeling as well. But the whole thing about discernment, yeah, that's such a big topic right now. I mean, it's what my documentary that I'm about to finish off, is all about. And I see it more and more in the community right now. People are, it's an important part of the awakening process because, yeah, it's so easy to get down the wrong rabbit hole, I guess. Maybe there's no wrong rabbit hole to go down, because in the end, you will come back to what is right. But it's trying to figure out, well, what is the right way forward for some people. And God, I mean, that's been my thing with all of this. Is like, if you want to know what the truth is, maybe you should try bringing it through yourself, right?
Yeah.
But that's hard for some people to do. But we're all psychic. We're all a soul having a human experience, as far as I can understand it to be, right? So we've all got the ability to tap into that. But I think when things are so far out of reality, is that a sign that we've gone off key a little bit, we've gone off base a little bit to what is true?
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right that sometimes we need to kind of go off track to be able to have context for what being on track really feels like. I know I've done that in my own personal life in lots of different ways. And over time, I've become more sensitive to anything that is throwing me off track. Now, if I look into my past and go back, to like my 20s, for example, my soul and my guides allowed me to go way off track to get some context that was very powerful, a very powerful teaching. But nowadays, if I even slightly veer off track, I mean, it's like a much more narrow path. I feel it in my bones. I feel something's not right, and I have to get right with myself. I have to get back in integrity with my soul's blueprint. So the path does become more and more narrow over time. Now, humanity is also kind of going through a similar process.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah,
big time. And even in many people's personal life as well. We just don't want to see it sometimes, do we? On one hand, the evidence is there to show us, oh yeah, that's totally off track. But on the other hand, yeah, we're blinded, aren't we, to there's a mismatch between the two sometimes of the size of our two sides of our brains almost, you know what I mean, fighting each other.
Yeah, and that inner conflict can be quite intense. I've also dealt with parts of myself that were very willful in not wanting to look, not wanting to see the truth about something in my own life. And I had to keep running into a wall, so to speak, and realizing that I was fooling myself. I've actually had a major turnaround even just in the last 6 months that was of that nature, where there was just something I did not want to face, but my soul was ultimately not going to let me off the hook. So I had to really get honest with myself and ask myself, how am I deceiving myself? Where are the lies? And to really look myself in the mirror and see it and know it and feel it, and then start to turn it around. And interestingly, like the lie that I was telling myself was that I don't know how to resolve a certain problem. I kept saying, I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know. And that wasn't true. I realized one day as I heard myself saying it, I don't know how to, deal with the situation. I realized that's a lie. I do know. I know exactly what I need to do. And I've been saying that I don't know because that is just a way to avoid. So, I mean, I have these kinds of challenges just like anybody else. We're all navigating the same broken psychology that we inherited from previous generations, but we get to be the ones that make it right, that recreate ourselves anew. And what we have to do is to always hold that both we and everyone else around us always have the potential to heal and change, even if they are choosing to be very willful and ignorant.
Yeah. Absolutely, and we'll get more into that in the channeling. So I think, and thank you for everything you've shared as well. It's all great stuff. It really is. So, I'll let you connect, however long that takes. Right, we might cut it down just to for time wise, because obviously I know we've only got a certain amount of time with you as well. So yeah, if you want to talk about the process at any point, you can do, just to show people what you do, and just thank you what you've said so far. It's great. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And I find also that in terms of connecting with an ascended master presence, the presence of your angels, the best way to make that connection is radical self-honesty. You have to want to receive the guidance that they can bring you. It's one thing to want the connection, but then not want to take stock of the true contents of your being. Creates a much stronger pairing with the energy of the guides when you want to see yourself as you truly are and make discoveries that sometimes might be difficult to face. But I love it when my guides challenge me on something and force me to let go of an attachment that's not serving me, or they reveal to me an attachment that's not serving me that I didn't see clearly before, because then I know that I'm not hiding. I'm not in so much hiding or denial or avoidance that type of guidance is not getting through. If you're not getting that type of guidance that challenges you, then that's when you need to start practicing more honesty. Because when you really avail yourself to it, then the guides can potentially challenge you on where you're getting in your own way. I always just call it in-your-face guidance. That's what we're going for. Please give me just get in my face. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to meditate. Typically, this takes me, and it's okay if we cut part of this out, but typically it takes me about 7 to 10 minutes on average. And that's because I never know who's going to come. And that's just my process of getting into a deep enough attunement that I feel that I am in integrity with the energy. There are phases in there where I might know who it is. I might know, their energy, their personality has been in my field enough before that I start to kind of take on that character a little bit. But I don't just want to be channeling the character of a being just because I've known that energy before. I want to move past that and discover that being anew every single time, and let something new come through that hopefully evolves me as a channel every time. So yeah, it's a bit of a process. Okay, so I'm going to start out by playing this crystal bowl for a moment. It's kind of a thing that I do. You can't see it. It's off to the side, but thank you for your patience. We have established a link with the channel, something that we have not done in a long time from within this group. We are a group of collaborating extraterrestrial beings and emissaries that have gathered around a communication portal. an interface that allows us to communicate with some of our contacts on Earth. There are a wide variety of beings here. The one who speaks on our behalf is from a group known as the Sincerators. We are mostly human type beings, and we all exist within a part of the galactic spectrum that is in alignment with the angelic presence that is overlighting and guiding the earth and humanity. And so we are here to extend greetings, our blessings, and to answer questions about what is unfolding in the worlds regarding contact, regarding disclosure, regarding changes that we see taking place from our perspectives. And you are certainly a very suitable person to ask questions. So we are here to entertain them.
Well, I'm very honored to have you on. Just know that, or to have this connection. So, yeah, thank you for this conversation that we're about to have. How do you see disclosure for the world that I'm residing in right now, in a sense of is the disclosure already happening with certain things that are going on politically within within the world right now, or is there a larger disclosure agenda that's going to happen soon? And what is the purpose of it? What is the bigger purpose of it, in a sense? Is it maybe some more of a spiritual awakening that we're much more than we could possibly imagine? What is discernment for us right now? Sorry, not discernment, but disclosure for us right now, would you say?
Yes. Well, to put it simply, you have been living in a certain type of psychological environment where the control and manipulation of this subject has worked to a certain degree. The misinformation, the distortion, it has worked because you have been living inside a bubble of illusion and denial that has impacted your relationship to this subject. But what you are going to start to see is that the truth is beginning to escape the control. Now, if you think about it, when some elements of the control of this subject and the public's relationship to it began, this was a time before, long before the internet, time before people had phones with cameras that could shoot high quality video. And so think about the mindset of people who thought they could control humanity's relationship to this subject, or even control the media for that regard. These are people that birthed these programs of control during a completely different technological age. And now that you are living in a technological age where the average human being is equipped with information and technological tools that allow them to participate in disclosure, participate in a revolution of consciousness in ways that the founders of the control could not have imagined or truly planned for. Now you have reached an age where the truth is escaping the control measures, And you are going to see that happening more and more. But what it will look like is that in terms of your mass media, you will start to see cracks in the walls of secrecy, the wall of denial, which is the flip side of the wall of secrecy. You will start to see that a program of manipulation in the media is present as it will become more and more visible. Humanity will gain discernment enough to recognize the manipulation taking place, to see the way in which certain agents of the mass media are deliberately framing the subject in ways that your truth sense begins to tell you do not resonate with the emerging truths that are indeed part of a global awakening and a spiritual awakening. So yes, you are correct. There is an awakening that is also happening. This is putting a kind of evolutionary pressure on many forces that have connection to this subject, and it is causing a breakdown of the control. But there are many things happening. What is happening politically at this stage is creating a very powerful mirror that allows people to see both the agendas of the control, the way that they have not been able to see it before, and to see also truth and courage and light beginning to break through the cracks. Remember that many of those who have served within the agencies that have controlled this subject are like double agents for the light. These are people who want the truth to come out. They have been placed in these positions because their souls knew that this is how they could best serve to unravel the control from the inside. Part of that happens because of a change in consciousness that is happening inside of those individuals as well. But speaking globally, there is a change taking place in the psychological environment of the world itself. The disclosure, to the degree that it provides truth, or to the degree that it reveals the deceptions that are still very present, is going to serve the emergence of this new psychological environment. Now, there is an interesting parallel that we see that is not going to be talked about widely anytime soon, but it is something that is developing, and it is worth speaking about because you have the development of various forms of technology, what people are currently speaking of as forms of AI. Not true AI as we see it, but still it is a stepping stone. It is the beginning of introducing more advanced forms of AI and developing forms of it that have very profound implications for humanity. But as people are pondering this idea of creating machine intelligence that can learn and evolve, the idea that such learning can begin to happen at an accelerated rate, and what will this produce? What will such an intelligence become? There is a lot of speculation, excitement, interest, fear, discernment. But what is not being talked about is the potential for your brains to align with an emerging platform of shared intelligence, shared human intelligence, that can begin to allow your brains to evolve as one, to learn and co-evolve, and to become something far more profound, more multidimensional, more far-reaching than anything that AI could ever produce. And so there is a mere reflection here at the same time that you have given rise to programs and computers that can begin to learn and be programmed to learn, to correlate large data sets in entirely new ways and spit out information that might have taken many, many years to tabulate using slower, less evolved systems. Think about what your brains could do if more of your brains and minds became connected in a field of shared consciousness. There are ways in which higher beings that are a part of humanity are coordinating the birth of such collective intelligence so that humanity can begin to teach itself, guide itself, instruct itself, reprogram its own brain in ways that are completely independent from technology. And in fact, at a certain point, there are degrees of interfacing with technology that would be perceived as a distraction to this other, more natural evolutionary process. And so you must be very careful, as there are those who would gladly use AI to distract you from this process, as this new evolutionary process is part of a natural awakening that will allow you to escape the boundaries of control and oppression in any form. Does this make sense to you?
It does. So the rise in the AI as such, I mean, and we've seen a rise in AI this year. 2023 was the pinnacle year of AI coming to the forefront, and just, at its most simplest stages of development that it's in, just how powerful this is and how far-reaching effects it's going to have in the years to come as well. So the rise in AI and the rise in the subject of disclosure as well, with the whole UFO subject, there is a connection there. It's all part of the consciousness evolution that we're ready for. Maybe there's not a direct connection, but it's all part of our consciousness awakening, part of that path.
There is a connection, and we would describe this as a series of evolutionary pressures that are all coming to bear on human consciousness simultaneously, as this is what has the potential to produce and awaken within you forms of discernment that you will need to navigate the potentials of these times. And so be mindful of what you project onto all of these things, as they are meant to be mirrors for you. What is happening in the disclosure is there to be a mirror for your own thoughts to reflect inwardly on your relationship to everything that you are witnessing, both in terms of the truth and the deception. What you project onto AI, all of your hopes and fears about the human future, in some form might arise as you consider the implications of AI. The same is true of the natural disasters that are occurring in the worlds. These are mirrors. And so all of these mirrors are being put in place at the same time, as these are all forms of evolutionary pressure that are challenging human beings to rise to the occasion in various ways. In some cases, to seek a divine perspective, to seek divine consciousness as guidance. And there is plenty of divine consciousness waiting for more people to seek it, because you realize that you cannot do this alone. Not that we of the galactic community are offering to step in and solve any of these problems for you. We are here to help you realize that your potential to evolve, to solve problems through evolution of consciousness, is something that exists inside of you. We are here to bear witness to an evolution, to an evolutionary process that many of us have lived through in our own worlds. We have met some of these same challenges before. And so we also know that in the heat of the moment, so to speak, we rose to the occasion, we evolved, we became more deeply connected with our divine counterparts, the angelic presence, the presence of our ascended masters. And that is where you are at now. You are in the process of integrating a tremendous amount of light, which you will need to awaken your ability to think and act as one biological organism, as one community, as that is in many cases a big part of the solution to the problem, to all of these problems.
Yeah, it's almost like I feel that disclosure, in a sense, is not what we think it's going to be. That the nature of the reality of the subject of UAPs or UFOs, as we term them as, the nature of the reality of what this is so much greater than what we understand it to be. Would there be any truth in that, in the sense that this isn't nuts and bolts, this is something actually beyond what we can maybe comprehend it to be?
Yes, and this is in a way part of the tragedy of how these subjects have been held back and characterized or mischaracterized for so long. Because even as there are hearings that are taking place and whistleblowers coming forward, and some of your own politicians are beginning to acknowledge many truths about this, you will not often hear people speaking in an official capacity about some of the aspects of this that matter the most, which is the way that this information, this change in consciousness, and the possibility of connecting through a field of consciousness with a living universe. People are talking about, are we alone? Is there proof that we are not alone? And some are saying, yes, the proof is there. We are not alone. It is definitive. But what is not spoken about is that the implications are for a shift in consciousness. Because as soon as you realize that you can connect in your consciousness, just as the channel is doing now, that you can learn and evolve through telepathic exchanges, you realize things about human potential that are quite profound, and it is life-changing. Many people will need to
change the pattern of their lives, to realize a place for this new evolutionary process, one that will evolve greater spiritual practice in the world, one that will evolve a deeper and more connected relationship to the living environment. So this is, in many ways, the end of a form of consciousness where human beings have lived as if separate from the environment, as well as from a galactic community and a spectrum of consciousness that your souls and your bodies, for that matter, are a part of. So yes, this is much more than acknowledging that there is a presence of galactic civilizations. That is just the very beginning. And the hearings taking place, though they are an important stepping stone, they do not even come close to expressing the immense and profound truth of the shift in consciousness that is actually knocking at your door.
Is the nature of reality actually? There's nothing out there in the sense of other beings. Actually, this whole UFO thing is something else, and that's the real true nature of it. That, you know, we talk about that we live in a, you know, maybe a multiverse, or that none of this is true, it's all a simulation. That actually there is something trippy like that that's actually so much greater, which breaks us free of a lot of warlike issues that we've got going on right now, which seems so level one. But we've got to go through it still. Am I making any sense? Am I don't know.
Yes. We chose to come through today in this way to demonstrate that there is nothing to fear about the connection. A great many people in the world, including those that will listen to this recording, yourself included, have associations with members of this greater galactic community. You have friends among us, and your souls are known to us. And there are many such associations that you have, that you embody, many that you are not conscious of yet, that create bonds energetically that reach across great distances, that connect you to a wider reality. Now, it is true what you say, that sometimes words can get in the way, they can create barriers, sometimes speaking about the idea that something is in another dimension is not useful, as it does not acknowledge the fact that the associations, the emotional connections, the energetic pathways of connection that bond our souls together, those create an experience that bridges worlds, bridges space, bridges dimensions together, if you will. And so, yes, let us do away with this talk of being in different dimensions. It is all one dimension that we share, one hologram of reality that we share. But also, the idea that this is a simulation, it in many ways devalues what the hologram of reality really is. There is much for you to discover, but what you have the potential to discover will take you far beyond ideas of simulations and simulation theory as many people currently think of it.
Yes, because coming to this realm, there's potential conflicts right now between Taiwan and China, and other conflicts going on currently as well in the Ukraine and this planet. And I guess that it can't be any other way, can it? Because if certain regions of this planet are spiritually not able to evolve to ideas, even when things become more known to us of greater realities, maybe at a soul level, these are things that we've got to go through and work out for everyone that's involved, no matter what soul level that they're at. We're all going to come out of it together in the end. But certain things seem so scary to people, don't they, on the outside? Yet maybe all this warlike stuff, it's just part of the awakening, isn't it? The great shift.
We would like to share an observation that relates to what you are saying regarding the impacts of things like wars and famine and other types of difficulties you are facing in the world. We perceive that certain layers of energy are beginning to approach you or to come online within the human resonance field, at least within certain people. This process has begun. We speak of these as layers of connectedness. You have mostly, as a civilization, been living in a state of consciousness where you do not feel each other and feel the planet or the globe. Your inner senses are not open enough to be responsive to signals coming from other places. Now, certain people who have stronger empathic gifts or intuitive gifts may have experiences of receiving signals and feeling prompted to follow a signal or to show up and be the change, so to speak, because they are answering a calling. But these new layers of connectedness that are approaching, that are beginning to come online, they will start to support the expansion of inner senses into a field where you can begin to feel and sense what is happening in the world, to sense and feel where there is pain, where you are needed. And just in the same way that when a wound appears in your body, the blood begins to send platelets, it begins to send cells to fight infection, to repair the skin. Something similar is going to occur, that this new connective tissue made of light that is strengthening and growing, it is going to start to cause more and more people to become responsive to the wounds that exist. What this means is that you will start to see movements birthing to address issues in a way that is more highly responsive to the needs that exist. And even on the level of the individual, more and more people will start to feel an inner calling to show up in a certain way, to follow a calling, even if it means leaving behind where they are accustomed to living, leaving behind a career that they were once very attached to, leaving behind many of their material pursuits to instead pursue a path of unconditional service, of giving, of showing up to the change, as one of your beloved saints often spoke of. So you will see more of this, more of a humanity that begins to respond in a compassionate way to its own woes, instead of feeling that what I see in terms of war or disaster, when it is happening on the other side of the world, it does not affect me. That is going to change. People will begin to feel affected, but they will also begin to receive guidance about how to respond. Now, in some cases, this does not necessarily mean making a change in one's lifestyle. Sometimes it might mean making an inner change, a change in one's approach to life where they are, to participate in a shift in consciousness that supports this new layer of energetic connective tissue to grow and be cultivated in and around one's environment. And there are many ways of doing that. So there are big changes that are coming, that are arriving, and we are very excited to see these new connective tissues of light starting to come online.
Yeah, well, this is a very different energy that I've ever sort of connected to or spoken to before. I can just feel that. And I've connected to a lot of different energies, but this is different. Nice, but just unexpected a little bit, to be honest with you. Interesting perspective. Very interesting perspective. It's never enough time, is it? But enough time just for what we need right now, I think. If there's any final message that you might like to give, then the floor is yours.
There is much that wants to come to each of you in the way of guidance, of angelic guidance, and especially of healing. There is not a single person that will hear this message that is not in need of healing support in some way, or is not connected to people around you that need healing support. But fortunately, a great deal of healing support is being poured forth from the angelic realms, and there are great saints and masters and avatars and beings of light that are working to support your healing. And so if you choose to make this a priority, if you choose to allow the support in, if you choose to take stock of your preferences, your agendas, your desires, and to discern a bit further where does healing fall into your priorities. Perhaps it wants to become a higher priority for a while so that you can develop a deeper clarity and a more complete openness and surrender to where the divine hand wants to guide your life personally. And there are many resources that will come to your aid when you choose to make this connection. So thank you for listening. We are grateful that you called this forth, and we are always your friends.
Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So thank you to all of my guides, the Sincere Tours, and all the other guides that were there with us. I'll just say a quick little side note here. When I first connected with this, I'll call it it's like a speaking platform or a communication portal. I remember the first meditation when this happened, and it's like I was connecting with someplace far out in space, like, beyond the orbit of Saturn, where there was some meeting and gathering of these different galactic groups, and there were Arcturians and Syrians and beings from all sorts of different civilizations that all were coming together with humanity's best interests at heart. And they developed this, it's like a speaking platform, and I kind of visualize it almost like a podium. And sometimes different extraterrestrial speakers would step up to the podium and they would speak to me and through me. I feel that it's always been a preparation to entrain me with this, because, you know, eventually one day I might be channeling this just from this particular collaboration of extraterrestrial energies. And interestingly, this is the first time that they've come through in this kind of a platform. So, you know, when I said I have no idea what's going to come through, I
was
really,
amazing.
truly did.
That was incredible.
Yeah, so it's only happened a few times. Sometimes there have been Arcturian speakers that have come to the podium. Sometimes it's, you know, been other groups. Sometimes I don't have names for them because
that was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, I think as well we should just before we go, just let people know about any sort of freebies that you're doing as well right now as well. I mean, because people are going to be, you know,
Yes.
pulled by this right now. So
Yeah. Well, if you come to my website, saryon.com, you can sign up for the recent Arcturian update, which I highly recommend. It's by donation, so you can receive it for free if you like, or give a donation either way. And that'll also put you on the list for other public offerings in that way. Also, I am now doing an annual Sedona retreat. Looks like it's going to become an annual thing. We want to build it to eventually be a little bit larger conference style weekend event that I will be channeling all sorts of different guides that will come through and facilitate the healings and openings for people. So you can sign up for the next Sedona retreat whenever that happens. It'll be sometime next year. And also I am going to be sending out it's kind of like a getting started guide for people that want to learn how to channel, that links with some of my video resources. You know, there's a free class on creating your angelic protection grid, and that's going to go out to everyone that signs up at channelingnow.com. So you can go to channelingnow.com/register, or you'll be able to do the same thing at saryon.com. You know, it's all there on the main website as well. So there's that. And you know what? I want to toss out one more thing, because, you know, we're looking at tremendous heat waves and natural disasters and floods and fires and, you know, really major stuff. I feel that there's a lot of anxiety around the fact that we're breaking all of these heat records. And if this is what it's like now, what's going to be like, you know, next year, or 5 years, or 10 years from now? You know, when are we going to start to, you know, head in the right direction? And there's a brilliant video discourse that came out at the start of this year, 2023. You can find it at louix.org, louis.org. And he gave a discourse called, you can look it up on YouTube as well. It's called 2023 is the Year of Giving. And he talks about how these different ways of participating in this theme of giving is going to help mitigate some of these natural disasters, because these things are only happening to break down our resistance, to break down selfishness, to break down greed, corruption, all of that kind of stuff. If we start moving in the right direction and participating in these waves of blessings that are coming in to support us to become more generous, to start, you know, donating more of our time, more of our money, more of our resources to help a momentum of change in the world that wants to happen now profoundly, then it's going to mitigate some of these disasters. So I highly recommend checking that video out.
Excellent. Well, all those links have come up on the screen that we just spoken about as well, and obviously they're in the description below as well. And I just want to say just thank you very much for what you've done right now. Very interesting to see where your work's going. Very, very interesting. I'm sure it is for you as well. Until next time, Saryon, just thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited about what the future holds, and we'll be in touch, I'm sure.